Final round of the Genesis Invitational from historic Riviera Country Club. $3.6 million to the victor go the spoils. But we start with the man in red. Not in contention, but still with the crowd. Tiger Woods looking to build off a stellar performance in round 3 here at the par 5 first. The site of a Saturday Eagle Sunday, it's a birdie. More red numbers. Woods, however, would stall with a bogey at 5, and then at 8 just sticks one into the grain and cards a second bogey. He would make 5 on the day, but then at the par 4 13th, get out of your seat. Still some magic left in that gamer. Woods from the fringe, 30 feet to the bottom. Then at the 18th, the gallery offering their praise to the tournament host and 15-time major champion Tiger. Finishes the day 2 over par, 3 birdies, 5 bogeys, T45, 1 under for the week. To the top of the leaderboard, Jon Rahm entered the final round 15 under, 3 strokes clear of Max Homa, but we pick him up at the always precarious 10th, and trouble looms. Drivable, but trouble everywhere. Rahm, that was his 3rd shot, chipped it into the back bunker. Would get up and down for bogey. Max Homa, next closest, takes advantage, makes the birdie. 2-shot swing, and just like that, we are knotted at 16 under. Things would be the same till the 12th. Rahm looking to save par from 5 feet. Can't believe it. Makes another bogey, falls to 15. Homa from 4 feet stays at 16 under. So solo lead for the moment. But then at the par 4 13th, after a wayward drive, into some more trouble as he tried drawing one up there out of the trees, but couldn't shape the shot. Would settle for bogey, back to 15 under. Again, we are tied at the top. Rahm at the par 3 14th from 46 feet. Just lag it up there, right? Just lag it up there. In! A massive moment for Rahmbo. Moves to 16 under, back into the solo lead. Then at the par 3 16th, looking for an exclamation point. Rahm from 158. Love the number. And he should! It almost goes. Rahm with the kick-in birdie gets to 17, extends his lead to 2 strokes over Homa, and that's where it would be as we approach 18 green. Homa needs to hold this to apply any sort of pressure, and almost does. Cannot believe it. That one lips out, caught a bunch of the pin as well. Would make that putt for par, finishes 15 under, a solo second, a lovely payday, but no hardware. That belongs to Jon Rahm, now a 10-time winner on the PGA Tour. Fires a 2 under 69 in the final round, plenty to get it done as he finishes 2 shots clear of Homa at 17 under. What a week for Rahmbo, who moves back to number 1 in the official World Golf Rankings with the win, his 3rd win of this young season. 3 wins in his last 5 starts, and a nice payday here on Sunday.
Here with Jon Rahm, and one of 2 of the cutest kids that we have out here on tour. But Jon, this is now your 5th win in 9 worldwide starts. You surpassed Seve for wins on the PGA Tour. He had 9, you have 10. He was your hero, and you win another one of your heroes, Tiger Woods, his event. Can you explain the joy in what you just accomplished?
I could explain exhaustion right now because that was a tough week and a tough Sunday. You know, Max battled out there, and Patrick kind of gave us a scare, and I'm just glad I could come through at the end. But beating Seve, I know he didn't play full-time PGA Tour, and I know 5 of those wins are majors, but still to reach that milestone of double-digit wins is pretty incredible. And to do it at a golf course with this legacy, this history, and hosted by the man himself, Tiger Woods, it's a true honor. I can't really explain it.
We talked last night about your confidence level coming in today. Can you talk about how much confidence you needed starting on that 10th hole, bouncing back after the 12th hole, and then doing what you did to close it out?
Well, I kept telling myself after 12, you know, even though it was a mistake that I made, an unforced error, it's a really freaking difficult golf course to finish out. It's very difficult, and I told myself, if I can finish the last 6 holes on their par, the last 5 holes on their par, I knew I would have a chance. And obviously highlighted by that great putt on 14 and that great shot on 16, right? But you know, when you're at that point, you just got to find the positive and change the focus and kind of win a bit more on the attack.
Another incredible performance, Jim. The hottest player in the world right now, Jon Rahm, is your winner.
All right, a big thanks to Amanda Renner, Jim Nance, Trevor Immelman, our whole team out there in LA for the coverage all week long. And a finish we've seen already this season. Jon Rahm at the top of the leaderboard, and this one is big. Another designated event to go along with last week's WM Phoenix Open, and that means $3.6 million into the bank account of Jon Rahm. His earnings on the season already butting his head on $10 million. He's gone T4, T8, win-win, T7, third, and a win at the Genesis. For more, let's welcome in the man who lives at the top of our personal leaderboard, CBS senior golf writer Kyle Porter. KP, it's Rombo times three wins in 5 starts, prize money butting its head on 8 figures. In a word, dominance. How do you sum up what we saw here on Sunday?
Well, it's been incredible. I think for Sunday and really for the weekend, Joe, you got to look at his approach play. I think Rahm's probably a top 3, top 5 driver in the world. But his approach play at Riv on Saturday and Sunday was unbelievable. Only Gary Woodland hit more greens in regulation for the week than Jon Rahm did. Rahm hit 51 out of 72, which is, I'm going to get in trouble with the math here. It's above 60%. Field average was just above 50%. I think his was closer to 70%. So he's about 20% higher than what the field average was. And that's, you don't have to putt that great to contend and to win, but you pull it back even bigger picture, Joe. And I mean, his first 60 days of 2023, he's got top 7 in all 5 starts, 3 wins. He's 93 under in 20 rounds. And he's beaten or tied 601 out of 609 competitors over those 5 events, going all the way back to Kapalua, which he also won to start the year. It doesn't get much better than that. It's a Tiger-like run, and we throw that phrase around too often, but it actually applies with Jon Rahm right now.
Well, I'm glad you go there because he is the fastest to reach 3 wins in a calendar year since Johnny Miller in 1975. Tiger aside, because that's always a tough point to play off of, is this one of the great heaters that we've seen in recent history across the PGA Tour? I don't want to get desensitized to what Jon Rahm is doing week in and week out.
No, I think it is, and we had that graphic up, and maybe we can throw it up again, that it's the first time since 1975 that somebody's won 3 events this quickly. We haven't even gotten to Florida, Joe.
Unbelievable. I'm not sure he wants to go.
Yeah, that's true. Johnny Miller, Jon Rahm, Arnold Palmer. This is 3 PGA Tour wins in a calendar year, and this is, I mean, it's really crazy. And I think what contextualizes it for me, Joe, and what makes it even more meaningful. I mean, we've talked about this. You've listened to the First Cut podcast. I've thought that Rahm has a 6 or 7 win season in him at some point. We're kind of seeing the beginning of maybe that season, this season. And this is not somebody that, Joe, this is not somebody that's catching a 18-month heater. This is somebody who's been the best player in the world statistically for the last 6 or 7 years. You can throw Rory in there. You can throw DJ in there. You can throw Justin Thomas in there. But Rahm, at least statistically, stands above all those guys. So when you contextualize it like that, it really gives you, I think, a good visual for what could take place the rest of the year, because this is kind of within the realm of what he's capable of. It's not even the best 50 rounds of golf. Like, if you look at a rolling 50-round average on data golf, this is not even the best that Jon Rahm has ever played, which is just unbelievable that he's doing that.
It surely feels like potential realized here in the moment for Jon Rahm, but I'm sure he'd tell you that the season is not complete without a major. Maybe a parallel to be drawn here the season ago from Scottie Scheffler. Didn't win at this rate, but he rode an early season heater right into Butler Cabin last year. How do you compare that stretch to this one, and how does Rahm properly peak the way Scottie did last year?
Well, I think it's a good comparison, and I think it's actually even more meaningful for Rahm to get that major than for Scottie Scheffler. Jon Rahm's finished in the top 10 in, I believe it's 9 out of 25 major championships that he's played in. Scheffler hasn't played in that many, so it wasn't as if anybody was saying, hey, Scottie Scheffler needs to win a major, in the same way that it's like, man, if you're playing at this level, this Tiger-like level for Jon Rahm, you actually do need to take advantage of that and win a major, win 2, and I say need to. He doesn't really need anything. But in terms of if you want people to properly sort of evaluate or contextualize what your career has looked like, you kind of do need those majors. And so I'm hopeful for him because his career's been underrated statistically. He's been better than people think. And the reason for that, Joe, is because he hasn't won 2 majors like Colin Morikawa and Dustin Johnson. He hasn't won 3 like Jordan Spieth. He hasn't won 4 like Brooks Koepka and Rory McIlroy. He could do that. He could get to 4 this year or next year or the year after that. And I hope he does because it would contextualize just how good he's been over the last 7 years.
Another point of context here, double-digit wins also passes Seve, who had 9 wins on the PGA Tour. We heard him say it. He holds Seve in the highest reverence. It was his idol. It is his fellow countryman. Does that point of context, double-digit wins, speak to you as you sort of try and situate him historically amongst the game's best, not just in this era, but in past eras?
Yeah, it does, because he doesn't have that many starts. I think he's around 130 PGA Tour starts. He plays a lot globally. He plays on the European Tour. He plays all over the world. And so, the early part of his career, it was focused on the PGA Tour, but it wasn't exclusive to the PGA Tour. So because of that, he kind of has the same number of starts as a Rory McIlroy, who doesn't play that often. Tiger Woods played probably even less than those 2 guys. But when you start looking at how little they've played, and how much somebody like a Phil Mickelson played, or, even like a Ricky Fowler has played a ton of PGA Tour events over the course of his career, you got to look at winning percentage. And Rahm's winning percentage on the PGA Tour is, I haven't calculated it after this event, but it's been around 8, 9, 10, which is just an all-time number. If you're at 3%, Joe, you're probably a Hall of Famer. And to be around 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, to kind of hover around that, depending on when you win and how many tournaments you've played, is it's really an unreal number to maintain for a long period of time.
Well, we'll leave the NFL parallels for last week in Scottsdale, but maybe a second Super Bowl for Rahm, a young Pat Mahomes here, could be in the cards in the short term. Surely the hottest golfer in the world right now. The official world golf rankings do now reflect that, with him back at number 1. Carried a 3-shot lead in the final round, but didn't carry it the full 18. Max Homa closed that gap, even led momentarily, but then gives it back and then leaves one of the bunker at 17 for your, let's say, Vince Carter.gif moment of the week. What did you make of the way that Max handled Sunday and the pressure that he felt alongside of Jon Rahm?
I think that's Mac McClung.gif now after the slam dunk contest on Saturday. I think Max Homa, I think what you see on this hole right here, he's trying to make that shot, right? And he's not thinking about, how much money am I going to earn? Second place is, what was it, 2.1, 2.2 million, something like that. He's thinking about, I want to catch Rahm, even up to the very last shot of the event, and I want to beat him. And, we've talked about the nickname for Jon Rahm that floats around, no pun intended, is the buoy. And that's what Max felt like today. Didn't have his best stuff, pulls the drive on 13, his caddy told him to be an artist, to kind of float one underneath those trees there, flight one underneath those trees. Wasn't able to do it, but he just kept coming. He kept coming. And, it's interesting because coming into Sunday, Max had been in the top 5 going into the final round of a PGA Tour event 9 different times, and he'd won 6 of those. That's a completion percentage that you do not see. That is unheard of. Now he's been in that situation 10 times. He's still won 6. So it's getting to a more normal PGA Tour number, but that's what he does. He goes out and wins at the end of PGA Tour events, at the end of golf tournaments. And I think that's a really sort of underrated skill on the tour. Max clearly has it. Rahm also has it. So he ran into kind of himself on the other side of things, and just somebody that's playing a little bit better golf than he was.
Yeah, it's another one of those names that we're getting used to seeing on the top of leaderboards week in and week out. It was another captivating week, another elevated event, and it was captivating for a number of reasons. I'd argue foremost, the man in red offering some vintage roars. Tiger Woods goes the full 72 in red numbers for the first time in nearly 3 years across a 72-hole event. You walk away from this week feeling what about Tiger?
Well, I think there is some hopefulness that he will play a significant amount in 2023. And, we're sitting there a week ago in Phoenix, you and I on set. Things are crazy. The tournament's going on. And at least I was surprised, and I think you were surprised too, that Tiger was even teeing it up at Riviera, right? And so I think now you watch, okay, he can walk 4 rounds. He can get under par. He can shoot a 67. That means he can play 5 or 6 times this year. Now, that's going to be an uneven 5 or 6 times. He's probably going to miss a cut in there. He's probably going to shoot a 77 in there at some difficult major championship venue. But I think there's some hopefulness just for his presence at some of these big time events. Is he going to be able to get the body to a position where he can contend and win? I'm pretty dubious about that. It's a fool's errand to discount Tiger Woods or to count Tiger Woods out, but I just don't know that he's physically even capable of practicing and getting his body to a position where he's able to win PGA Tour golf tournaments. The type that he's playing in. He's not playing in the 3M Open, right? He's playing in Riviera. He's playing in major championships. So that's going to be a difficult, a tall task, a difficult order. But I do think he's going to play a lot in 2023, at least compared to what he did in 2022, which I think is a lot of fun for the golf world.
No matter where and when he puts the peg in the ground, our Kyle Porter will have us covered. KP, another week in the books. We appreciate you. And don't forget, there's only one place to be post-round. That's with our team on the First Cut podcast. Kyle Porter, Rick Gehman, the whole squad breaking it down round by round on the premier pod across all tours. Download, subscribe, and enjoy the First Cut podcast.
Do you want a sports network that delivers everything that matters about the game? The highlights, the picks, the instant analysis, no yelling, no fake debates, no politics. Hit the subscribe button and never miss a moment.